What's up, my friend? David Moss Jr. here, and this video is going to come as a surprise as somebody who has reviewed multiple cold plunges, multiple saunas, and I plan on continuing to do so. I wanted to make a video to answer a question that I get comments, emails, and private messages from people just like you all the time asking, is there a cheaper way for me to get cold? Now, I get it. A lot of the cold plunges that I review and a lot of the cold plunges on the market are great, but they're also pretty expensive, and a lot of them come with a high price tag. The crazy thing is a lot of them use a lot of the same components. A matter of fact, I just talked to a guy the other day who's a massive name in the jiu-jitsu world. I'm not going to mention his name, but if he's watching this, I hope you are okay with me mentioning this, but he has the Renew tub, and those things cost over $10,000. And what's crazy is it stopped working, and he showed me the components of this thing, and it was the same components that I've used on my DIY cold plunge. And there can be some massive gaps between the price of starting cold and where you want to get to. But the crazy thing is, and why I want to make this video, it's all just cold water. Before I begin, I do want to say that this video is not sponsored by anybody. This is straight up my heart. I want to help you get cold, and I want to help you save money if that is what your goal is. And out of respect for everybody on the internet, including you, I do want to also point out that everybody has different budget ranges. There's a reason that people use a rubber band to keep their money together, and some people have Louis Vuitton wallets. So have no fear. This video is not to shame you if you're trying to go the cheaper route, and this video is also not to shame you if you've already went or plan on going a more expensive route. This video is just to give you more options because I believe that you deserve to have all the options so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So now let's jump in. First option to experience cold water therapy, and it's really a way that's been getting kind of pushed under the radar and under the rug now with all these companies coming out with cold plunge options, is by simply taking a cold shower. Now I know a lot of people are like, well, that's not really cold water therapy. It's totally different. It's water pelting you. It's a totally different experience than getting into a cold plunge where the water is surrounding you and you're feeling the weight of the water on your entire body. You can submit to that experience, and that feeling is totally different. However, let's not discount the fact that getting into a cold shower and putting that water as cold as possible is an extremely uncomfortable environment, and a lot of people struggle more with taking a cold shower than they do getting into a 40-degree cold plunge. There's a lot of different reasons why that is, but one of the main reasons personally from my experience is that you're still feeling air and it's hitting you in a specific spot. Now, there is a way for you to take cold showers to maximize those benefits without having to stay in there for a very long period of time, and that is simply by taking 30 seconds of water straight to your chest, getting 30 seconds of water straight to the crown of your head, and then turning around and getting 30 seconds of water straight to the back of your neck. That would be considered one session. I would do that session 3 times if you can get through it. Now, if you can only get through that session 1 time, or you can only do 10 seconds in each of those zones, that's still gonna give you some of the benefits of cold water therapy. And I'll encourage you, if you're just getting started, to start with cold showers. Option number 2, if you graduate from the cold showers, is simply by filling your bathtub with the coldest tap water that you have. Now, obviously that water is not going to be ice cold or as cold as a cold plunge might be, but it's going to be cold enough to feel uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, that's really what the goal of cold water therapy is just getting uncomfortable. You can adjust the feeling by adjusting the time. You can stay in your cold bath for 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on your tolerance level. And if you want a little bit of extra credit, take some ice from your freezer and dump that in your bath as well. Some people take it to that whole next level by getting ice molds and making these massive ice molds, which is a great way for you to use just your bathtub and get cold on a regular basis. Another great benefit to using your bathtub is it self-cleans. You just simply unplug the drain, it drains all your water out. You don't have to worry about buying a filter or doing anything like that, and you can still get cold anytime you want. Now, the downside is the water is not going to be as cold as you probably are going to want it, and you're not going to really share it on Instagram and tell everybody that you're getting cold because you're probably embarrassed. People are going to shame you and tell you that water's not even cold. But I got to share something with you. I was super shocked but also relieved when I saw the interview with Joe Rogan and Dr. Andrew Huberman. When Joe Rogan mentioned that he gets in his 32-degree cold plunge that has ice floating around him, and he asked Dr. Andrew Huberman what temperature he gets into, and Dr. Andrew Huberman said he gets into between 50 and 55 degrees. That was a huge relief for me because I personally love my cold plunge between 45 and 55 degrees, and I'll fluctuate that temperature up and down depending on the weather outside all the time. But all that to say, you can experience cold water therapy without having to get into water that's sub 40 degrees. Just don't tell your friends. After you've started jumping into cold showers, taking cold baths, and even using ice blocks or ice molds or just straight up ice to make your water a little bit colder, you might want to graduate to have something that is set aside and specific for you to get cold in. This is where I would recommend getting something like a galvanized horse trough, getting a Rubbermaid tub, getting something that can just hold water, something that you can designate as that is where I'm going to be getting cold. And if you do the same thing that we did with our bathtub, fill it up with tap water, make ice molds, throw some ice in there, it's gonna take a lot of work, and draining and cleaning those is a lot more work than it would be if you just used your bathtub. And that is why products like the ice barrel and some of these other tubs exist. Yes, they're meant to use ice, but they're so much easier to keep clean, and they're so much easier for you to use and designate as your cold sanctuary. And I will say, after spending a lot of time with these teams, there's so much research, development, and design that goes into making the perfect cold plunge for all of us to enjoy. But that's a topic for another video. Let's keep on the budget-friendly options. All right, so you can get a Rubbermaid tub, a galvanized trough, and fill those up with ice. Or if you really want to take it the next step, you can do a DIY like my original video where I took a galvanized trough, I took a 1/2 horsepower active aqua chiller to chill my water and a cheap little pump, and I created a little bit of what I would consider a cold plunge fish aquarium, and that quickly became one of my most popular videos on YouTube and has helped a lot of people around the world get cold on a budget. If you followed that and built that entire system, you could do the whole thing for under $1,200. The problem is, and this is why I want to make this video as well, you have to consider you won't have a good lid, you won't have good insulation, your chiller and your pump are going to be fighting the elements pretty hard to keep your water at the desired temperature. And once again, that's another reason a lot of these cold plunge companies exist and do so well. So doing the pump chiller DIY system is usually that next step after you've been taking cold showers, cold baths, and you've been jumping into ice baths or cold rivers or cold bodies of water. And that's another thing you can do that I forgot to mention. If you live in an area, unlike I live here in Florida, it's the end of January and I'm shirtless and it's super hot outside. If you have frozen lakes, frozen rivers, or the ocean around you that can be pretty cold, go jump in that. You've got free access to the greatest cold plunge God could have ever created. So go enjoy that if that's an option for you. But if you're like me and you had to think of some other ideas, the DIY route with a chiller and a pump is a great route you can go. Another route that a lot of people go, I tried to stay away from, but it's another great option, is by simply using a chest freezer. I do want to also throw a disclaimer out there. Please do your own research and please be careful. The chest freezers were not designed for humans to fill up with water and get in, so there is some DIY strategies that are involved in making sure a chest freezer is safe or even usable. So you're going to want to watch a few videos or do a little bit more research on that before you go that route. And plus, if you got a chest freezer that's big enough for you to fit into from Amazon or from Home Depot, they're going to cost you anywhere between $500 and $1,000 anyway. There is one thing I do want to mention, and I don't want to be negative. I'm usually not a negative person, but I do want to bring up the fact that there are a lot of companies that came out of the woodwork with these little stilt trash bag cold plunges that they're selling for $100. I'm not going to say not to purchase one of those. The reason I don't recommend them and talk about them is because, one, none of them are insulated, so they're not going to work any better than your bathtub you already own or a galvanized trough that might cost you $50 or a Rubbermaid tub. Most of the lids are super flimsy, and if it rains on them, the lids are going to go down into the water, and they're not very safe or secure. It's not something I'm really going to recommend or talk about because I don't think that they're really that great. Sorry if that's what you use, and you might have some really negative things to say about me in the comments. Feel free to do so and let me know that I'm completely wrong. But everyone that I've ever used and everyone that I've ever seen has basically turned into garbage in just a mere 3 months. And I would rather you save that $100 and go buy rubber molds and go make ice and put them in your bathtub, because at the end of the day, it's going to stay cleaner, it's going to be easier, and it's going to actually insulate and keep your water colder longer. We've talked about getting started by taking cold showers and cold baths. We've talked about graduating by jumping into a cold body of water, a cold pool, a cold river, stream, or even the ocean. We've talked about designating a spot as your cold plunge sanctuary and filling it up with ice. We've even talked about creating our own little DIY fish aquarium cold plunge by using a chiller and a pump and a filter and keeping that water moving and keeping that water cold. We've talked about potentially getting a chest freezer, and all these options you should be able to do for under $1,000, $1,200 if you were pushing it with a 1/2 horsepower chiller. And if that's something that interests you, I do have quite a few videos on my channel that I want you to check out where I'll show you exactly how to build that DIY. I even have links in the descriptions of most of my videos to give you everything you need so that you can create a nice little DIY cold plunge for yourself. But this next part of the video, I do want to talk about a few of my favorite options if it's something you've decided you want to consider. Now, yes, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, cold plunging can be pretty expensive. And there's a lot of options out there that are $10,000, $15,000, even $30,000 for a cold plunge. seems kind of outrageous. At the end of the day, I get questions all the time from people asking me, what's the best budget-friendly cold plunge? What's the best cold plunge? Which cold plunge would you buy if you could only have one? And really, that's a hard question to answer because at the end of the day, it's just cold water. So for me, I have to look at things like style, functionality, ease of maintenance, how efficient it is. Is it something I can use, but my wife can use and my kids can also use? Is it gonna last a long time? And these are all questions you need to ask yourself before you make a decision if you want to spend any kind of money. And once you've decided which route is best for you, do even more research before you pull the trigger and make sure that it's exactly what you're gonna love. I will tell you this, if I had a high budget, I would buy the Plunge. I do believe that the Plunge is one of the best cold plunges ever created, and I think they're constantly trying to innovate to create one of the best and most beautiful cold plunges on the market. Their components are awesome, the water stays super clean, super clear, and aesthetically they look great. You can keep them outside in the hot sun or in the winter snow, or you can keep them inside because they don't condensate and water doesn't end up all over your floor. So if you have a higher budget, I would definitely recommend going with the Plunge if this is something you really want to do. If you have a high budget but you want to keep that budget down under $5,000, truthfully, the Mod Tub makes a great product. If you're looking for a chest freezer, the Box Plunge is an incredible chest freezer pre-made for you that you can use as a cold plunge right out of the box. It also has a filter and ozone so the water stays crystal clear. Polar Monkeys, which is one of the first products that I've reviewed, has some amazing products that are coming out. Matter of fact, they flew me to Miami so that I could be the guy who reveals some of their new products, and they've even given me a special discount code that I can share with my audience. And their cold plunges are really affordable. If you're looking for an inflatable cold plunge and that's something you want to be able to pack and take with you, Edge Theory Labs is a great option, but Ice-Up Industries is a great option and it's half the price. And then a product that's been near and dear to my heart for a long time because it was one of my first loves when I first got into the cold plunging scene. It was one of the first big projects that I had doing a DIY, and I've been able to be a part of a lot of their research and development, and that's the Ice Barrel. The Ice Barrel was made for you to be able to keep outside, super durable, super lightweight. You can throw it in the back of your truck and take it with you if you want to take it somewhere. You can use just ice, or they're coming chiller ready now so that you can put a chiller or a DIY onto it very, very easily. Now, these are all investments. These are all additional options. These are all that next step. And if you've got to this point of the video and you're like, man, I'm taking cold showers, man, I've taken the cold baths, man, I've jumped in that cold water, that cold river, I'm ready to take the plunge, I'm ready to take the next step, check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Actually, I'm gonna throw my playlist up right here, my cold water therapy playlist. Go ahead and check out the rest of these videos. I have a ton of cold water therapy content. I can walk you through some of the best practices, I can walk you through some of the best products, and you can get even deep dive behind the scene looks at some of these companies. I appreciate you for watching. I hope I answered some questions, made your decision a little bit easier. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day, and God bless.